Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Rod. I'm founder at Prentice, and today we're going to go over how to show employers that you are a problem solver. So it's something that you always have to do for employers. And if you do that, that's how you get hired because every employer hires people to solve their problems. So it sounds really simple, but obviously it can get a little bit difficult. So we'll go into a few different things, review people's resumes, portfolios, and hopefully give you some pointers on how you can improve. So to give you a little background on myself, I'm the founder at Apprentice. And Apprentice, we're building job search tools. We mostly work with schools to give them, job tracker, community, and more. But we also have our own community. So I'll tell you at the end how to join that, get more help, and to track your job search. So look out for that. So first, give yourself a pat on the back. If you're here on a Friday looking to improve in your job search, then you're doing something right. That means that you're looking to improve, and that's the first step towards success. So great job on that. And in my post, I know most of you probably came from there and how to solve problems. So we're going to focus on portfolios and resumes specifically, because that's two of the first things that employers will see when they're trying to figure out if you can solve their problems. So we'll go through different people's resumes and portfolios today and give them live feedback. So I'll bring them on stage and ask them questions. But if you have questions about anything that we're showing or displaying, definitely write it in the chat. I have the chat open and we will go through it and answer every question. So let's go into our first resume and let's see what we got open. All right, one moment. Okay, so we are going to start with Jessica. Hey, Jessica, how's it going?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you so much for joining. So we're going to start with your resume and we're going to go through a few different things. So let me just get the screen share going. All right. So Jessica, so first tell us a little bit about yourself. Like where are you coming from and what job are you going for? So then we can get some background.
Yes. So I was a teacher previously, and I just left teaching at the end of February,
Okay.
and I have been taking classes for continuing education to get into tech and become a
Awesome.
data analyst.
Awesome. Data analyst. That's my old job. So I'll have a lot of soft felt feelings for this. So in terms of becoming a data analyst, like when did you start your job search?
I started officially in January.
Okay. And with your education, I see like you have a certification. Anything else that you've done for education, or has it been like certification? Then since then you've been job searching.
I started just online self learning, and I'm currently taking data analyst courses with DataQuest
Okay, good.
and their career path. And so they teach SQL and data cleaning and Python and all those things.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a kind of challenging question first. So why should an employer hire you?
Um, I would say because I am dedicated and also because I'm very dependable. In my last role, I was kind of a point person and I still have a very good relationship with them just because, they could always count on me to get things done. And so I would say very reliable.
Okay, gotcha. So one thing that we need to do right off the bat is when you're trying to get an employer to see that you are a problem solver, first you have to make a mental shift. You have to believe yourself that you can make a difference and provide value to them in order for them to believe that. So that's the first thing you have to do. And when we make that shift, then everything else changes from one, resume, but also how we talk about ourselves and do things. So one thing that I'll point out in how you're mentioning like why someone should hire you, the biggest thing that you should do is provide concrete examples always. So, you ever heard of the saying, show not tell?
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. Like someone can pound the drum that I'm a hard worker, I'm punctual, I provide value, but unless you provide concrete examples, it's hard for anyone to see that. So always focus on concrete examples and measuring that. So let's go now into the shoes of an employer. So say they open up your resume, they're gonna see this paragraph. We have some skills listed out, education, experience, and if an employer could know one thing about you from this resume, what do you want them to take out?
Um, I would say to I'm not sure. Maybe that I am dedicated with learning on my own and that I would work hard to try and learn what I need to learn.
Okay, so good. So being a really good learner. So I've talked, hundreds of different businesses and asked them like, what are you looking for when someone doesn't have experience? And they always say, hard worker and that they're going to learn over time. So the fact that you want to express that, that's a great goal. So looking at this though, you see like, okay, there's three skills, some education up top, but you want to be showing examples of how you've learned. So right now, in terms of skills and education, what would be better is a project to show something that you've done that shows, hey, I've learned, I've applied this knowledge, and I can provide value. So do you have any projects that you can add here?
I'm working on projects and working on a portfolio.
Okay, good. So that's one thing where a lot of people slack is everyone is hyping up. There's so many jobs, people can't fill them up. That people think that anyone can just get a job out of nothing, but still you have to earn jobs. And the way to do that is by showing that you can do that work. So building out portfolio is going to be great. So now let's just go through the resume itself and look at some of the components. So what first tip for everyone is nowadays people are used to design more. So like 10 years ago, resumes in terms of design didn't really matter. Same thing with like websites, portfolios, but now design is everything because design builds trust. So what I would say for everybody's resumes is yes, you want to make sure that your resume is ATS readable, but you also want to make sure that it looks nice and is easy to scan. So right now looking at this, there's like this whole block of text and then there's this paragraph that talks about, drive growth, skilled in communicating, possesses organization, problem solving. But what I would put there instead is, hey, Jessica, well, I helped raise sales 50%, or something concrete like that, and right away get their interest so they want to read the rest. Because that's the first thing they're going to be seeing. So then in terms of skills, education, experience, and how to format that, what would be really good is you want to look for a template. So it has skills in a left column, along with education probably. Then on the right, in the bigger column, you're going to want to have experience, and then like experience and projects. That's what I mean. So like projects first, and then experience. And then that way, it's going to be much more easy to scan, especially considering that recruiters, employers, they're going to spend 6 seconds is what they say. So you need to make sure that they can find that ASAP. All right, so looking at professional experience. So these bullet points that you always add for experience are key. So like, let's look at a couple that you've done. So use formative assessments, benchmark tests, and observations to gather and analyze data. Okay, so that's good. You're doing some of the stuff of a data analyst. So that's good to show. Utilize visuals to make content understandable, accessible, meaningful. Also a great bullet point. But one thing I'll say with all these bullet points is numbers. So yes, I used to work a lot of service jobs, and getting those numbers is obviously tough. So like saying, hey, I raised this 37%. It's like, well, where do you pull a number from? But with this, you want to at least make an estimate. So with EL coordinator and educator, was there something that you could possibly measure? Anything you could think of?
I could just from teaching, I could use test scores. So whatever I used the data analysis for,
Mm-hmm.
how the test scores improved from beginning of the year to end of the year.
Exactly. So if you made that analysis, like what came out of it? You made this analysis, but what was the value? So that's
Hmm.
something that you want to be focusing on. And to expand on that, so to again go into the shoes of an employer. An employer, they hire you for, let's say, $50,000 a year. What that means is that they expect you to deliver $50,000 of value at least. So obviously they want more, but that's the way you should be thinking is like, okay, how can I show I can deliver at least that much value? So make sure to always be considering that when you're writing this. Um, okay, so looking at other education, so great, that's some good stuff. And then we have coursework. Okay, so this shows me that you've done a lot of coursework, but at the same time, you want to make it more focused. So on a resume, like I mentioned before, people are going to be doing it. 6 seconds is what they say looking. So you want them to know the top 3 things for each section. That's why three projects, 3 experiences, 3 courseworks. That's like the max for each one, so they can quickly find what they need to know about you. Does that make sense?
Yes. And could I ask a quick question?
Yeah, no. Ask questions. I rather not just talk straight.
How do you feel about the skills-based resume, whereas as opposed to having the work history in bullet points, you have experiences? And so, say if I put organization, I would use bullet points to say how I was organized, and then say leadership, then I would put bullet points, and then kind of at the bottom put work experience, but not detailed.
So can you repeat that one more time? So you're saying like you want to describe the company? Is that what you're saying?
So instead of professional experience,
Yeah.
instead of having the bullet points describing what I did in each role, it would be the quality. So, say organization, the bullet points would actually say how I was organized. I maintained student records 100% of the time, like you said. And then the next one may be hardworking. And then you would show, the bullet points to prove that as
Mm,
opposed to it being the role.
gotcha. Um, hmm. Well, you don't want to overload with text also, so that's something that you want to be wary of. So don't just throw in a bunch of things there, because again, you want it to be very scannable. That's a really important part for the resume. Um, in terms of expressing the experience, yeah, I think it was just th- do three to 4 bullet points and just keep it. Try to throw in some numbers there, and then that should be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So also, let's see. So in terms of data analysis, you said you generated some charts. If you can show some of those charts, that goes back into the show don't tell. So if you can include a picture or maybe a link to a Tableau dashboard, so something that people can quickly prove to themselves that hey, you have the skill that they need. That's going to be huge.
Okay.
All right. And so with this resume also, like have you been tracking your stats?
What stats do you mean?
So basically, when you apply to jobs, like are you tracking every time you apply to a job, and then from there, like your interview rate?
I haven't started applying yet. I plan
Oh,
to
you haven't started.
apply
Okay,
in May. Yeah.
gotcha. I thought you started. Okay, so what you're going to do also is when you start job searching, you want to make sure that you're tracking everything, just like a data analyst would. At the end, I'll just tell you how you can get like Prentice for free because you can track jobs through there and get analytics on it. But just make sure that that's a note on what you're going to want to do next.
Okay.
Any other questions on your resume that I can help out with?
No, you explained it very well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So let's bring on our next person, and that's going to be Marteta. Marteta, are you there?
Sorry. Hi, I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Yeah.
Let's tell everyone and me, where are you coming from? What job are you trying to get?
I'm currently a billing analyst at Daily Pay.
Okay.
I have 1 week left in my role, and
So contract?
no,
Oh,
it's
you
not.
just decided like I'm going all in on the job.
Yeah, I decided to. There's different reasons, but I decided to break away from this specific role at the company. So I gave a 4 weeks notice, and I am interested in tech for sure. That's one direction I'm trying to go. Um, but until then, I'll be looking for other like billing analyst, accounts receivable roles.
Okay.
Yeah,
So this resume that we're looking at right now, that's a billing analyst resume.
yeah,
Okay.
yep. This is what it has all my experience on there, but my last few roles are definitely more billing analyst, accounts receivable centered, things like that. Yeah.
Okay. So looking at this, so good, that's one page. What I will say right off the bat is, like looking at this, if you put yourself in the employer's shoes, if they open this up, it's not quickly apparent like where to look.
Mhm.
So, we have this giant block up here. Everything is kind of like not spaced out. And then you have these tiny headings. So it makes it tough to know what exactly to look for,
Mhm.
which, we want to make it as easy as possible for them because you want to be thinking like an employer, like how can I find this information quickly?
Mhm.
So have you started applying to new roles?
Yeah, I started.
Okay.
Uh,
And how's it been in terms of getting interviews with this resume?
Quick turnarounds. I just actively started actively applying last week, and um, got a quick turnaround. It's just someone waiting to hear back on a couple, but others beat me to the punch in regards to like timing, I guess, is what I was told. So where I
Mhm.
was in the interview process, someone had applied prior to me and they went with that candidate.
Okay.
But we'll see what happens. So yeah.
Okay, well that's good because usually people come over to like sessions like these and they're looking to improve their resume just so they can get interviews. So if you're getting interviews, then you're already doing something right.
Yeah.
So in terms of the resume itself, there are always improvements you can make to get even
Mhm.
more interviews. So in terms of this quick summary up top, so what I will say is kind of similar to the last person is summaries overall. Most people they're not good at writing summaries, and I don't blame everyone because writing is a separate skill in itself.
Mhm.
But in terms of fast paced, the problem solver, and like all these kind of buzzwords that they teach us honestly in school, like to put in our resumes, it's
Mhm.
actually not good.
Okay.
Um, so you're familiar with copywriting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So copywriting, the little definition is writing that sells, and that's kind of the mind frame you want to be thinking through whenever you're writing a summary or any other bullet point. Is how can I quickly express my idea and get it across quickly? So
Okay.
some of the quick tenets of that, like obviously it takes a while to learn, but one is write like you talk. So with every bullet point summary, write it down, and then if it sounds weird and you wouldn't say it to a friend, then chances are that you need to edit it, make it more approachable,
Okay.
because in the end employers are humans too,
Mhm.
and they want to hire a human. So that's something to keep in mind.
Okay.
Then in terms of billing analysts, so I'm not as familiar with the field, but are there ways for you to show like examples of the work?
Yeah, I mean, I put my numbers in there, and I kind of went through
Mm-hmm. It's great.
a resume company to help me too. Um, but I I didn't know how to incorporate the examples without having it look too wordy, I guess, or trying to keep it one page. So I definitely could provide some examples. I do have some examples for sure.
Yeah, one thing I will say is like with these numbers, so this is like decrease outstanding revenue of 100,000 within 3 months.
Mhm.
So what you want to do is move that up towards the front. So it would be something more like decreased outstanding revenue of $100,000 within 3 months, and then how you did it.
Okay.
So, lead with that value.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Then in terms of the bullet points themselves, I would also make them shorter. So like I said, this one is like 2 lines and you added a semicolon. So again, with the scannability, you want to make it something that they can read quickly and understand. So like in English.
Okay.
And then with the bullet points, so I always say like keep a max of 4, preferably 3 for each one.
Okay.
Just because usually there's going to be like 3 main ideas in terms of what you've done in each job that employers might want to know.
Okay.
Yeah, because the more information that's thrown at someone, the more likely that they're going to be thrown off about what you actually do and confused.
Okay.
Yeah.
So less is more in a way.
Exactly. Less is more. Like, so there's a saying in copywriting. It's like, oh yeah, it takes me an hour to write a 100-page book, but it takes me 10 hours to write a 10-page book.
Yeah.
So it's something like that. Just because being concise is a skill in itself.
Okay.
So in terms of your resume though, like overall what you're expressing are good because I see like there's numbers in each thing. So over here, 80% customer resolution, 45 to 60 accounts daily, that's always great that you have some sort of measured value that you can show to businesses.
Yeah.
So that's great. The biggest thing I would say here is just the design and scannability. So that way people can find what they need.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah. And then, for your LinkedIn, seems like it's kind of written twice. I'm not sure if that's a typo.
I think so. Thanks for I'll fix that. Yeah.
So what you want to do, so one thing that we benefit from now these days versus 10 years ago is like it's always in these formats, so you can link to different things. So make sure that your LinkedIn link is actually a hyperlink. That way they can click it and go directly.
Okay.
And then the same thing for the email. And if you can throw in like an icon for it. So basically that, because like we process images, like I think it's like 6,000 times faster than words. So if they can quickly find, okay, there's an email, there's the LinkedIn, and then same thing for the headers, like professional experience and then education. If you could throw in like a school icon and then like a briefcase icon, it's going to help people quickly find what they need.
Oh, an icon. Okay.
Yeah. Always use visuals.
Okay. Cool. I didn't think of that.
Yeah. Any other questions specifically on your resume?
Not necessarily. I just was, saw you on LinkedIn. Like, let me just get some feedback, because I want to break into the tech world. I have to start with, of course, some schooling, but any type of feedback is good just to show an employer, that you stand out versus just take a chance on me, like you said.
Exactly. You have to talk, you have to believe it yourself and have stuff that shows like, hey, I'm who you want to impress, not the opposite.
Yeah. And then actually one question, when you say icon, can you explain what you mean by the icon? Like, you mean like an actual image or?
There might be something where you can just copy and paste and it's like a text icon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But if not, in an image possibly, just so like when they view it, and then it won't mess with the ATS reading it, but you'll be able to do that.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, that'll be all.
All right. Oh, perfect then. So yeah, thanks for joining us, Marta. And we'll go to the next resume. All right. So we'll get to that other portfolio in a minute. So now we're looking at Alexis. She's not in the waiting room. So this one, I'll just go through each of the parts. So looking at Alexis's resume, I'm going to have to guess what kind of role she's going for. So looking at this, I see education, criminal justice, professional experience in task force for global health. And I'm not sure what she's going for. So one thing that I think always helps on every resume is to have the title you're going for at the top. So whether it's software engineer, or in this case, maybe a legal underwriter or something along those lines. So make it really clear what your resume is for, and then you match everything for it. That's also going to help with customizing your resume. So as they always say, you want to customize your resume for the job description. As someone that, I've gone through the job search, and you want to just kind of apply to things. You don't want to customize each time. So I get that. So customize at least to the different job roles that you would be doing. So just using an engineer as an example. So you might have a front-end focused resume, a back-end focused resume, quality assurance resume, but make sure that that resume focuses on that specific job, because the more tailored it is, the higher chance you have that a business will choose you. Just like, if you're looking for a lawyer, like a general lawyer might be, or no, better, if you're looking for a doctor, you might go to a general doctor, and they might be able to help you out a little bit, but if you go to that specialist, then they're going to be able to solve your specific problem. So it's the same thing with resumes going to employers. So looking at education, so there's university here, and then a major, and even if you don't have experience, so what happens a lot is when people don't have experience, they lead with education because they think it's like the most impressive thing they've done. But education, while it's hard to attain it, what's more impressive from employers is what you can actually do. So again, here I would have projects, but I guess in the legal realm you can't do that. So instead, I'll put professional experience to show what they've actually done, and then after that, I'll go to education. In terms of the resume points, so you want to be talking again about what you have done. So that's why for the verbs, you want to be talking in past tense instead of, in this case, collaborate. You'd want to say collaborated, and even then, collaborated wouldn't be a good verb for a point. You would want to do more stuff like increased, improved, upgraded, launched. So something that shows that you actually delivered value versus, just doing the job. Over here, so they have some leadership experience, and that's great that they're involved. So this, is this giant paragraph in each bullet point. So we need to always be concise. Paragraphs in general are going to get people lost. And if they're lost, they won't know who you are. They'll skip your resume, go to the next one. You don't want them to get lost. So remember to be concise, use normal words that people might use in everyday conversation. And then other things. So people will kind of push against this and say, hey, you can have 2 pages of a resume. It's no problem. But if you don't have experience in a field, there's zero reason for your resume to be more than 1 page, because, there's not much to say. So you have to be even more focused when you don't have experience. You need to have only what is relevant for this job to show business that you can do that. So you would want to slim down this page. This resume should go down to 1 page, and that way it's going to be easier for employer to understand them. And then like lists like these. So some people, you list skills and it'll just be comma, 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 comma. So if you put yourself in the shoes of an employer, recruiter, trying to find a skill, it's so difficult to scan through a list and then see, okay, do they have that specific skill that I'm looking for? That's why that 2-column resume template, you're going to want to have the skills in 1 column, each one on their own line, maybe even with a light background to make it stand out. And then from there, they'll be able to easily find the skills that you have and do that. All right, so I think we're done with this resume. So let's go to, we have one more, actually, no. All right, so let's look at portfolios now. So portfolios are definitely useful no matter what your field is, because your portfolio shows everything about yourself. I will say that portfolios are much more important if you're in the creative field. So stuff like, in this case, design, writing, and anything artistic that doesn't have like a black and white answer. Just like like code will run and that's it. But in your case, you want to make sure that you're showing examples of your work. So with this portfolio, what you want to do is show off specifically what you can do. So in terms of your portfolio right now, like we're looking at someone that says, hey, I help SaaS companies increase brand awareness through design. So with this, what someone's going to be judging from them is their design specifically. In this case, they're going to be looking, okay, do I like to use this site? Does it look nice? What kind of projects do they have? And in this case, the design could definitely be improved, and that's what you want to be focusing on in order for businesses to reach out. So looking at projects. So talking about projects is going to be huge because, like, as you mentioned, you always want to show employers what you've done and how you can help them. So for this one, let's just click on Intel. Okay, so for someone that would be opening up this, they want to find out what, again, the key information is. So giant headings will be key. So right now, just there's like a small thing that says project overview, challenges in this light font that's hard to read, but you want to be focused on design no matter what your role is going for and make it easy to find the information you want to find. So make sure you always have big headings and show that. Then in terms of like how you do it. So right now it says project overview and then challenge. And all these problems that they're mentioning here. So, consistencies in the circle, a dated look, too similar in competitor to Samsung. So these are this person guessing problems versus discovering them. So what that means is, with a business, they, like I mentioned before, they have problems. They need you to solve them. But you need to do a little bit more into why they need to get that solved. So, for example, let's think about Slack. So Slack, in case someone doesn't know, messaging app that a lot of companies use. So in terms of their problems, like one thing that people mention is that they get overwhelmed with messages. So that would be a problem that you can solve and show how you can solve it by, doing a project like this, talking to actual users and figuring out how you can solve it. But just guessing problems won't work as well. Oh, Ebby, you said you sent a resume. And so 1 second, let me show that real quick. Okay, so 1 second, we're going to do another resume. And okay, so 1 second, we're going to do another resume. Okay, 1 second. All right. So now we have Ebony's resume. So Ebony, so you have a Google Doc, so that's great. And one thing I forgot to mention with other people is that you want to have a Google Doc link, especially. That way, if you link your resume in some other place and you update in the future, it's the companies that you apply to can easily find in the future. So that's what you want to be doing. And then looking at this resume, so one thing that is better in terms of scannability is these long lines that she has to kind of separate the sections. So the fact that there's project experience up here, work experience on here, it's separated, and then education, everything is clearly divided. So that's good for scannability. Other thing would be that, in this case, you did kind of, you did the 2 pages thing, but we want to make it 1 page. That's fine. Going from the bottom though. Oh, sorry, I forgot to share it again. Sorry about that. So this is what I meant. So this, she has these long lines, and then from here she's separating things out, so it's much more scannable. And then there's a little bit more line space versus some of the other resumes we saw. So that's what I was focusing on over here. And, going all the way down here. So this is also separated, but like I mentioned, 2 pages. So one thing you can do even if you don't have the 2-column template for your resume is for skills and interests. The fact that you use one of these, which you can see, it's if you click shift and click the button above the enter on your keyboard. So this is always a good separator. One thing I would do instead here is a clear divider in between each skill. That way it's going to be more scannable and figure out where each of these skills end. And then also keeping the same formatting. So right now for skills, we have this where it's separated by this. I don't even know the name. But then interest, these are separated by commas. So you're going to want to do it in the same formatting. That way it's easier for someone to continue reading it. Let's go to the project experience now. So Ebony, I'm guessing that you want to become a project manager. So that's the first thing that I'm going to be guessing based off of this, because we mentioned before that you want to have the position you're going for listed up top, and then that's going to quickly let them know what position you're going for. But in this case, the first thing I see is Google Project Management Professional. So that's what I'm going to assume you want to do, is project management. And then in terms of certificate, so certificates, I definitely think they're valuable. I think they always show that people are learning and continuing, but I wouldn't do 4 bullet points for that. So what I would do for education to make it look the best is, 1, you want to say the subject of it. It doesn't matter if it's a certificate, a engineering degree, or whatever it is, but you're going to want to say the specific subject. Then from there, you're going to want to include one like sentence on it. So basically saying like, this was the goal, this is the value I got out of it, and how it improved you. So for example, for here, you could say over 12 weeks, 30 hours per week, I learned the principles of project management, so that way I could learn how to build my projects faster. So that's just off the top of the head, but basically you want to show the value that you provide, and then the value that the course provides. And for that feedback for the education itself, so you can apply that same thing to projects. So I see this front-end development certification. So I think, this coding project's here, capstone project. So I would actually have capstone and coding project separate from the education itself, and make it a project experience. So separate those two things. It's going to give you more stuff to talk about, and also show more experience in terms of what you've done. And with open source coding projects, so something you want to talk about is what technologies you used. So for this one, if you use HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, JavaScript, then you want to have skills used as a line, the value added as a line, and then a link. You could just make like the title of that project a link. So that's going to make it nice and concise. All right, looking at work experience. So yeah, I see right here we have 7 bullet points. So right now we're getting overload on bullet points. If I'm a employer, I'm just like, which one do I read? And then I might not read any at all. So that's where we're going to look at. And in terms of lead show technologist, so like I was mentioned before, with these stats, you want to move stats to the front. So instead of participated and implemented best practices, then you want to just move this to the front. It says improved the SOP by 10% by blank and blank. Continuing on this point specifically, so you want to be specific in your examples. So when you say implemented best practices, what is that? Because if you're talking generally about what you did, then it's going to be harder for an employer to imagine you doing a job. But if you say, hey, I used this software with this process, and then from there, they're going to be able to imagine you actually doing the same thing. So you want to help paint that picture for the employers in order for them to understand that you can do the job. Provide a great service, assisted, followed agile methodology. Yeah, so this is probably the best bullet point here. So use agile with a Fortune 500 client to generate $1 million with 10% under budget. So just basically cutting out each of those main things and making it a little more concise, a little bit more readable, and action oriented, and that's going to really stand out. But then in terms of like listing out a bunch of things or assistant coordinated, like these don't mean as much. It's like work cross-functionally. We don't want to use these like buzzwords that just kind of blend in. So, cross-functional, project-oriented, detail-oriented. So all these kind of buzzwords that we think, sound professional, and that's honestly what they taught me back in college about, getting hired, but it's wrong. Remember, we want to use human words, stuff that people can understand quickly, that it's not going to throw them off. That way they understand exactly what you do as quickly as possible. Seminole State College. So the date, I guess we could leave off because like some people use date to age people. And then there's some age discrimination. So I guess we wouldn't want that there. But if you can include date, then, it's always a good thing. And then you want to combine this education with the other education, so it's not split up in two. Otherwise, pretty good resume. I think it'll just be a little bit more focused, a little shorter, and a bit more scannable. But overall, the formatting is probably the best one that we've seen so far. So good job, Ebony. So Jessica sent a different resume. So 1 second. Okay. And here we go. Okay. So I'm saying that this is a skills-based resume. And over here, so employers are not going to read this. I'll tell you that right off. As soon as I see the word results-oriented, client-focused, I'm skipping the whole paragraph, just because, like you mentioned, these kind of buzzwords that you see on all these resumes. If you're reading through 100, then it just kind of, you're on autopilot. You see that, you're like, nope, and you don't want to get that. So if you're going to do a summary at all, make sure that you're writing it to make it really interesting, showing that you're unique. So you want to use a quick hook, like, I don't know, my camera keeps going out, but you want to use a quick hook to show that you have the skills, and then also write. No, Janet, it's all right to still send yours in. So let me just write my email. If anybody else wants to send theirs in. Also Jessica, let me bring you back on. But yeah, with the summary, we want to use unique words that are going to stand out, especially when someone is reading through quickly. So Jessica, when you said this is a skills-based resume, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so this is not my resume, which is why I blurred out the info at the top. I just wanted you to see how instead of the work history being the extensive, with the bullet points, she actually used her skills as opposed to just listing them. That's what she actually described, was to kind of prove that she has those skills, as opposed to work history, which is at the bottom, but it's briefly at the bottom. Yeah, with no details.
Oh, okay.
Could that be effective for career changers, you think, where the work history may not be as applicable?
I don't believe so. So one thing that makes LinkedIn so valuable for recruiters is LinkedIn has the same format in all the profiles. So recruiters know where to look right away. So with a resume, people are looking for a similar format through each one. They're looking for the headings to find, okay, where's education, where's the skills, where's the experience. So throwing off into a new format, unless if you design it really well, then I wouldn't even try that. It's just going to throw people off.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, so we got another resume in. I think that's Janet. All right, and okay, so Janet, let's see. So I'm guessing you're going into data science. Okay, so you obviously data science here. So again, I would throw in the data science up there and make sure that people know that you're a data scientist. Also, just to kind of throw this in, not for you specifically, some people like to throw in, junior or entry level or inexperienced. Don't discount yourself, because, think about what you like. People like shiny objects, and this is the same thing with recruiting. People want the best. And if you say something like inexperienced, entry level, people are going to discount you before you even get a shot. And you can't afford to not give yourself the best shot possible. So you want to make sure that you're hyping yourself up, not hyping yourself down. So we want to throw in the data scientist. So that's one thing. Skills. So skills up top. I think listing out the skills is the first thing without concrete examples is not going to be as effective. So instead of listing out the skills up top, and that's like the first thing they see, I would instead put some experience or project that shows those skills in motion. Oh, and Janet, you would write data scientist. Like I would probably do the next line and have data scientist like bigger than the rest of the body text. So that's what I would do. But going back to the project, so you want to show again what you did with a skill, the value provided, and then from there you can go ahead and list the skills further down as like as a whole list. But for scannability, again, 2 columns. In terms of fellow data science for all, I would say you can probably shorten something like this. It says selected to participate in a 7-month-long merit-based fellowship. So you got selected for something. So perfect. What I would do is 1, make that numerical. So I'd say qualified in top 5% of 7,000 people for a merit-based fellowship in data science. And then that'd be the line. So you're including the data, you're making it quick, concise. And then from there, people can know, hey, you were selected out of this giant web of people. Then in terms of perform t-tests, chi-square tests, applied linear regression, he said determine online if they should verify as income source of loan applicants. So what were the results? What were the value? In case no one has heard of it, the format or the framework, that's what it's called, for what you want to do in each point is the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, result. So you want to explain the situation, then say the task you did, or the task that was in front of you, the action that you took, and then the result. A lot of people focus on STA, but not that R. And if you want to stand out, focus on the R at all times. What were your results? What was the value provided? That's all businesses care about. So make sure you do that. Also over here, so with your your projects, if you can split up and maybe list a project separately from this, from the education, then it's going to seem like more experience in data science overall. So if you had a capstone project, or I see like you showed a few examples here, separate those out, talk about the value that project provided, and then you can do that. Care coordinator. So I would include care coordinator as separate experience, because one thing is, people look at this, they're going to see data scientist. You want to be reinforcing that you are a data scientist. So one, they're going to see this, they're going to see, okay, you're a fellow, but then they see care coordinator and they're like, okay, wait, what really is she? What's she going for? So that's what you want to do, is you want to fix that. And then next thing they should see is data analyst. In turn, they'll be like, okay, so like they have 2 things that they've done with data analysis and data overall. Seems like an attractive candidate. Let's maybe talk to them. Over here, so a great thing is that you're talking about the size of data you've worked with. Someone that's actually been interviewed in this field, like a lot of questions they ask is about size of the data you've worked with. So that's great that you did that specifically. But like produce 10 reports weekly to track clinical improvement. It's like, again, what was the value? Education is good. Maybe you want to separate into 2 lines so it's a little bit more scannable. But overall, this looks pretty decent, and good job on having these subheadings. So what I would say with the subheadings though is, if you can make the subheadings a darker color than the rest of it, it's going to make it stand out, because the subheadings initially, they kind of like blended in. So while color is good, color in a resume is going to make it stand out from a stack of 100. You want to make sure you use it properly. So headings always darker than body text. That's the general rule. Also, so we had Kevin. So Kevin had submitted this. I forgot to go through this one. So for Kevin Peary, he's going for an engineer position. I can tell right off the bat just because there's a GitHub link, and that's for engineers. So that's good. But I would still, even then throw in the software engineer or whatever kind of role he's going for. Make it super obvious. Don't make people guess. Then in terms of employment history, so over here, he bold is software engineer, but the formatting is kind of off. So with the formatting, you want to make sure that everything is clean, nice, scannable. In this case, it's like not, this should be right aligned, but it's not. So I would fix that, Kevin. Then in terms of creative front-end UI applications at BP, what did that help? Skills today, knowledge and education is a commodity because YouTube is there, Udemy is there. We have boot camps. We have all these places that people can learn. That education and having a skill matters less, but what matters more is what you can do with those skills. So always show that. Yeah, I see over here, he listed a bunch of different technologies he worked with instead of just listing things out just to show you have them. So whether it's, a technical thing or something like problem solving, you wouldn't want to say, okay, problem solve this, was project oriented on that. List those skills separately and then talk about actual things that people can imagine to understand that you can do a job first. That's what we want to focus on. Over here, way too many bullet points, Kevin. We want to cut that down to 4 bullet points talking about value specifically. Then also with the formatting, so it says cognizant here, over here it says Infosys, but these are kind of like blending in. So you want to mix and match with the boldness. So you can use bold, you can use underline, you can use italics, and again, you can use color. But you want to make sure that each section is easy to find out. But so that way, this body text should be different from this date, from this location, and from this company name. For projects, so good that you link to projects. Obviously you want to do that. So GitHub link, YouTube link, and demo is even better because that's something that people can watch, experience. So that's great. Then looks like you created a job tracker. So cool, bro. And with this, yeah, once you open it, let's see. So the app looks like it's taking a long time to load. So I'd make sure you check your projects and how fast it loads before that. But yeah, it took about 15 seconds in order to get done. Looking at other ones. So, we have all this over here. So in terms of education and right here, we have, looks like 8 different things, great that you did a lot of learning. I would focus on the top 3 mostly, and those can be 2 lines, but the rest, Udacity, Grow Google, I would have those 1 line, and because you don't want to just have all this information overbear them. You don't want to give them the top 3 important things about education. Skills, this is more organized. So this is one way to have columns without using a template. So this is a good thing that people can grab from. Is just use the tab button on your keyboard, and then you can have everything aligned like this. But overall, it looks good. All right, so I'm out of resumes. Anybody want to ask other questions that you wish were answered that I didn't go over? So you could type in the chat now. And just to kind of give you a preview for what's coming up next. So next week on March 27th, we're going to be doing another session like this, but we're going to be focusing on LinkedIn instead. So with LinkedIn, it's a huge part of the job search. We're going to be talking about how to optimize your profile, and then from there, how to reach out to people, how to comment, get your name out, and get noticed so you can get a chance to get interviewed. Janet, thank you so much for joining, and hope you have a great weekend. For everyone else, so I mentioned you can get Prentice for free. So I'm going to post the link here. So you can go to here, and what you can do is at that link, you can register as, you're going to have like two options, employer and member. You can register as a member for free when we're not charging anything. There's a community that we're just starting up, so we're going to be the first ones, but we're going to be hosting office hours weekly where you can join in and get personalized feedback on resumes, anything that's going on. We'll talk about interview answers and so on. Plus, you're going to be able to get a job tracker. So for the job tracker, you're going to be able to track all your applications, use Chrome extension. So definitely use that. It's all free. But otherwise, you want to be measuring what you're doing. Okay, so where do I find these projects for portfolio? So what field are you in? Depending on what field you're in, then I can tell you where you can find some projects. Going based off of designers. So designers specifically, or designers and software engineers, they're using software, so it's much easier to find projects because they can say, hey, I was using this software and it was hard to do this, or I was confused by doing that. And then from there they can get kind of a solution to it. Okay, so business analyst, perfect. So as a business analyst, it's kind of similar to data analyst, but you're looking at businesses and how to optimize things. So what you can do is build basically like a sample project where you analyze, let's say Amazon, and say, okay, so here is actually not Amazon. Actually, never do projects on big companies. So sorry saying Amazon, because big companies, obviously everyone has made Twitter clones and so on. So what you want to do is actually focus on smaller companies, because what you can do with those projects is, one, do a project on a small company, find some information about them, and there's always going to be something that a small company can improve on. So they're going to appreciate you for that. Then after that, with that project, not only will you be able to show your experience on your resume, you will be able to go to that CEO, that founder, the manager, and that person will actually be very appreciative of the fact that you even pay attention to their business, because small businesses don't get attention. All these big companies do. So find a small business, figure out what their problems are, and then present your project on your resume and to the founder themselves. You might even get an interview and a job. So that's like a creative way to get into things. Did that answer your question? All right, I'm going to assume yes. So that's it for now. Hopefully I get to see you in the community, and in next week's session, we'll go over LinkedIn's. And if you ever need any other help, specifically, always feel free to message me on LinkedIn or anywhere else, and I'm happy to help out with whatever you need. For data on those small businesses, Janet, I will say you have to extrapolate in many cases. So obviously in data science, you're not gonna be able to find too much, but maybe you can find a data set on a similar business or similar industry. And then from there, you can say, okay, so this is a similar company. This is what they did. And here's something that I think might work for you to increase sales or whatever might be that they need. So you can find adjacent stuff. But yeah, so if anyone else has any other questions, then definitely message me, email me, let me know. Otherwise, thank you all for joining. Have a great weekend. Good luck with your job search, and hopefully it's successful very soon.